Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 130, and it is about how to get feedback that's actually useful. But first, some tiny updates. This is coming out on... Oh, shit. I'm looking at the wrong month. I'm leaving all of this in, by the way. Yeah, this is coming out on April the 23rd. So that means Woo Corner is right around the corner. If you're not signed up for that, come give it a shot. It is very fun, so I hear. So I keep doing it. This essentially signs you up for my email list, just so you know. So if you don't like it, then you can just leave, and I'll never know. But you might like it. If you like what I do here, you'll probably like what I do there. So there's a link for that in the show notes. Please join me. I'd love that. Other updates. I'm not sure how much I've talked about my dad's surgery here. He got his hip replaced. I feel like I've been talking about it so much, and the places and where I update people on my life really bleed into one another in my brain. So all that to say, Dad's doing really well. He got in trouble today with his PT because he was just walking around without his cane 2 weeks after surgery. And she's like, "You can't be doing that, doc. Go get your cane. I want you to hear me. Hear my voice in the back of your head as you sleep. Go get your cane. Where's your cane? Use your cane." And that was awesome because it meant I didn't have to say it because she said it. But thank you for all your questions about it. He's doing really well. He's doing really well, and he's not in any pain. So thank you for asking. Dad's doing great. If you're local to the Charleston area, there is an important date to put on your calendar. To me, it is June 20th. Of 2025, and that's when myself and Georgia Shrube are both premiering a bunch of new pieces of work. For her, it's a complete dance piece, something that she's been working on for ages, a group piece of choreography and a retelling of the classic story, The Yellow Wallpaper. And she invited me to double bill with her, which was such an honor, with some excerpts from The Monstrous Feminine, which is my work in progress, one-woman show. And I'm going to put that in the show notes too, so you can buy a ticket if you want. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this episode. This is by request from my girl Rebecca, who I'll just read you the quote from her. "When you're creating a larger piece of work, something longer than the standard 3 to 5 minutes, at what point do you ask others for feedback? At a rough draft phase or more of a pre-final phase? And if you're creating something that requires original music, at what point do you reach out to someone for that? I want the choreography to not be affected by the music, but I feel like the final choreography won't truly be final until I do it with the music." So there's more, but I'm just going to stop it there, because what we have here is an artist who is very bravely and audaciously creating outside the bounds of what is prescribed for her. That's not a moral judgment on my part. I don't think that you are better or worse if you do or do not do this, but I do know that it's brave. It's hard to make something that has never existed before, especially when you don't have a template for how to do it, and you can't necessarily look to someone else for a template on how to do it. And when we're working inside of a kind of a structure that we're familiar with, for example, the prescribed 3 to 5 minutes, or even 3 to 6 minutes, if we're talking about an act for a variety show, more specifically, something acrobatic. And when we're operating within that structure, there's a comfort in that I really think you should take advantage of when you're in it. Be like, isn't this great? I know that I have 3 to 6 minutes to get my point across, and that's perfect because that's about how long human attention span lasts. There's a reason that pop songs are 3 to 5 minutes long. It's because that's how long people can pay attention to something before they sort of need a reset. And that can be something that you can incorporate that knowledge into the work that you're making in whatever discipline it is. It means you can either ignore it or you can use that knowledge to your advantage, whatever you want to do with it. So that means every 3 to 5 minutes, something changes to reset the audience's attention. That is an option that you have. But this is not really a podcast on how to create longer form work. I just thought I would just bury that little nugget in there because I am also creating longer form work right now. And this is a very, very relevant question to me as well. Like, when do I reach out for feedback in this process? To repeat some of Rebecca's question, do you do it at a rough draft phase or at more of a pre-final phase? And I think the answer to that is when you need feedback. Now, we all know that place where we get to where we're sort of just like, well, I'm not exactly sure where I want to move on from here. And then you want to sort of see if it lands. And you want another human being to look at it so that you can ask them, like, how is this landing for you? Like, how does this feel when you watch this? Is there something that you crave? Have I lost your attention? You know, useful questions that can be actually helpful for an artist to hear while they're making their work. When, and I can't stress this enough, my friends, when they are ready for it. There is an extremely important differentiation that we need to make here between getting feedback and getting validated. They are both important. They are both useful. And I encourage you to do both, but you need to know the difference. You need to know the difference. Sometimes we'll say like, oh, cool, I found this thing. I'm going to go get some feedback on it. But what we actually want is just for someone else to validate us and be like, yeah, that's cool what you did. All right. There's nothing wrong with wanting a cool thing that you did validated so that you can move on. But you need to know the difference between, do you want critical feedback? Like, I didn't like it. Maybe it was a little like flat at this place. If you're in a vulnerable place in your creative process and someone gives you critical feedback that you are not ready for because like the creation's just not robust enough to stand up to it, that can be very harmful to the piece. It can set you back. It can rein in a gremlin parade. So it is up to us, my friends, to know the difference, and to ask ourselves as an artist, what do I need in this moment and at this point of creation? Am I ready for feedback? Or do I just need to be validated that this is working? And sometimes the place where you do need feedback on something is during the rough draft, and sometimes you don't actually feel like you need that until you're in kind of a pre-final phase, pre-final phase, to use Rebecca's terminology. This is a thing that I coach. I coach it in the Audacity Project. I coach it during physical retreats, like the one that I lead Full Circle with Jenny Tufts in Mexico at Sweet Retreats. And I coach it as well at the Irish Aerial Dance Festival. I think we could really benefit, as like the arts in general could benefit from more information and options and knowledge around giving and getting feedback, particularly in those very, frankly, tender first 5 years that an artist is creating things. And, we're excited and I did a cool thing. I want to show someone a cool thing. But if they don't have any language or any real guidance on, one, knowing the difference between getting feedback and getting validated, or the language and knowledge around how to pursue getting that feedback if they are ready for it, then they don't really have much information to go on. And that's how people get crushed. And what might have been a scratch becomes a wound, which becomes a scar. And y'all know I love scars, but we don't have to be Scarface. We can give each other good and useful information about how to get feedback on our work. Now, my recommendation, why does this keep happening to me? Scratchy throat. My recommendation is for each artist to very much and intentionally take possession of their creative practice. Take possession of your creative process. And that means having the emotional intelligence and the self-knowledge to ask yourself, well, one, to like pause in that moment and be like, wait, do I really want feedback? Or do I just want to be validated? And then knowing when to pursue feedback. The other part about taking possession of your creative process is knowing what questions to ask when you do pursue feedback. It is well known within my alumni that I absolutely hate getting sent any piece of work with the one-word question, thoughts? I hate it. Stop doing that. And it's not, partially it's because I know that my thoughts, one, it's going to take a hell of a lot of time and investment on my end, where all they did was send me a video and the word thoughts, okay? No investment, no questions. Then if I'm going to watch this whole piece of work, use my cognitive resources, my taste, my, whatever's in my brain, to like give them a whole bunch of thoughts, we're talking about an hour-long investment here, and it might not even be useful to them. Especially if all they actually wanted was to be validated. That's one of the first reasons I want you to know the difference. Do you want to be validated or do you want feedback? Both are valid. Both are valid. I have a group chat with Janelle Dinosaurs and Kat Doherty, and I don't know, once a week we seem to send each other something. She says, I just want to be validated. Look what I did. And it's really helpful. One way that you can know that you just want to be validated is that it's really impulsive. Like, there's a sense of urgency to it. You want to show someone right away. That's a craving for being validated. No problem. Go do that. That's fine. Your friends will be happy to validate you. But when you actually want feedback, you want something specific. And that's on you to decide what that is. It shouldn't be the onus of the person giving the feedback to take possession of your career for you and be like, well, here's what I see here. And if someone does do that, they need to take a step back. That's too much. The absolutely marvelous in every way, Dr. Shante Cofield, aka the Movement Maestro, referred to this in a pretty recent podcast as outsourcing. People be outsourcing their thinking. That's what you're doing when you send someone a piece of work with the one-word question, thoughts. You're not asking specific questions that could be useful to you, that give you, the artist, power and control over your own work. You are outsourcing your judgments, even of your own work, to someone else with no structure. I'm going to have to find that podcast episode and put it in the show notes. Because it's awesome. So anyway, moral of the story, don't be outsourcing your thought processes. Don't be outsourcing your judgments. You decide what is useful to you as the creator at this point in the creation. Here are some questions to get you started. Did you become bored? If I lost you, where did I lose you? Do you perceive a narrative in this piece? If so, what is it? Do you like the character or characters? How did it make you feel? Do you feel a cringe at any time? Was the musicality on point? And even more to the point for music, was the music overbearing or was it supportive? Like, you get to decide what questions are really useful for you as the artist, and then you can ask those questions. And of course, just like a little caveat here to like be particular about who you are asking for feedback from. Never take a note from someone who doesn't like your work, for one thing. Because if they don't like your work, they're never going to like your work. It's very unlikely. And that's good. You should not be everyone's cup of tea. But if they don't like your work, then they're just going to give you things to try to make it so that they like it. And they're not going to like it because they don't like your work. So ask someone who likes your work. Well, let's move on to another one of Rebecca's questions in here about music while we're talking about music. If you're creating something that requires original music, at what point do you reach out to someone for that? That is a great question, and I think it is, as always, the annoying answer, it depends. And it doesn't just depend on the piece. It also depends on you as a person, what your vision for the piece is, the musician as a person, and how they like to work. If you want totally set choreography and you want a musician to create music to that choreography, then you need to wait till the choreography is finished. Or at least in the pre-final stages, so that they have a structure to operate on, given the parameters that is what you want for the piece. There is an act, I've worked with musicians several times to create original scores for pieces that I was making. For my aerial dance film, Midas is King, I created the entire choreography, I filmed it, I had the video editor edit it, and then I had the musician create a score. That musician is Max Cooper, who I've mentioned on here before, and I've had him on the podcast before. Max is a photographer, but he's also an accomplished musician. I think I took a year off of his life with this project because I knew what I wanted. I'm like, okay, here you go. Make a piece of music to fit this. And he's like, what? But he did it. And even though he lost a year of his life because of it, he also won an award for it. Best Original Score. You're welcome, Cooper. Please forgive me. And I'll put a link to Midas is King in the show notes if you want to see what I'm talking about. And I've made a couple of acts using original music from Fidget Feet's Jim Daly. And working with Jim was always really different because we would just trade things back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I could be like, okay, well, I want to do like a kick here at 4 minutes in. So can you put like a ding or something? He's like, yeah, I got you. And he'd put a ding right there. And because of that, there are like the two pieces that I have that are made to music of Jim's because we were creating it at the same time. One was a duo with Anastasia Sauvage, and one is a hoop solo called Lion Skin. I'm going to put both those in the show notes as well if you want to see. But I really enjoyed that way of working because it just felt like we were creating something together. And yeah, you can put those little like flourishes on it. It's got to depend on the musician that you want to work with and how they like to work too. So it's always going to be a conversation. And I reckon you'll try one way, and then maybe in another piece you'll try another way. And all of this is good information because it all builds not just like your body of work, habeas corpus bitches, but also your taste. You're like, did you like that? Did it taste good? Did it taste bad? You're developing your taste the more things that you make. That's gorgeous. There's no shortcut to taste. So to get really specific with Rebecca's question, because she goes on to say, like, she's not sure to ask for feedback until the music is finalized, but she doesn't want the music finalized until the choreography is finalized. So to that I say, be very particular about first who you're asking for the feedback and know what you need going into it. Because yeah, you're probably going to want some feedback on that choreography before it's all, polished and finished and the music is set. And you are right in your assumption that like not everyone has how do I say this? Not everyone has the capacity to give feedback on a movement piece without the context of music. Some people do, and you could seek them out and ask them specific questions about the choreography. Like, yep, I know there's no background score, but like, how does this movement make you feel? Do you feel like there's tension right here, or does it seem like peaceful? Just figure out what you need from the feedback, and that way you can get feedback before the whole thing is all cut and polished and finished. And yeah, it takes a It takes a special little weirdo to give that kind of feedback when there's no music. I inflicted that on people when Midas is King was finished and it was edited and there was no music at all. And I sent it to people for feedback and they're like, this is really hard. It's just like 10 minutes of silent movement. I'm like, yeah, I know, but how do you feel? So choose your eyes wisely. So to summarize, for the too long didn't read, even though no one's reading this, my favorite way to approach getting feedback is just to, one, no disclaimers, okay? Just zip the lip, especially if you're about to get up and show someone something physically. But even if you're sending a video, don't fucking apologize for it. Be like, well, it's not done, and I haven't really worked on it really hard, and blah, 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 I'm sorry that I exist, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. Just zip it. And then ask your questions. Just send it and ask your questions. And just try not to apologize for your work. Even though I know it's not finished yet and we feel insecure about it. And that's fine. Just shut up. But when you do send it, one of my favorite ways to get this conversation going is just like, what do you see? Like, how do you feel? But do you see a story happening? Do you see a character? Are you projecting an experience of your own onto what you're looking at? If so, what? So that is something that can get you started. And the beautiful thing about that is that it puts the power and the agency back into the hands of the artist instead of outsourcing the judgment and the taste and the questions and the thought processes that it needs to grow into its next rendition. So I'm just going to climb down off my soapbox now, and I want to thank you all very sincerely for listening to me yammer on about this for 22 minutes and some change. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for writing in that question. I hope that it's still in time to be useful to you. If you want to really nerd out on feedback, you can look up Liz Lehrman's critical feedback technique. It's pretty cerebral and it's very involved, but it's nice because there's a whole structure to it. And there used to be something that I really enjoyed doing and teaching, which is basically what I just told you to do. Hey, what do you see? And it was called fieldwork technique, but now it's not called fieldwork technique because it's been rebranded or something. And now I'm confused by it. So I've just said it in my own way. Which is just to ask the audience, what did you see? What do you get from this? Which is definitely a better question than thoughts. So you decide, my friends. You decide what's going to be useful for you. What do you need for the work to grow its next 2 inches? What do the next 2 inches call for? And I am taking my own advice as I'm nodding to myself as I'm saying all this, because I am deep in the trenches with you, Rebecca. Goddess speed to us. If you have a request for a future episode, you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. Leaving it in. This podcast is powered by Patreon, so I got to give a shout out to my many wonderful, patient patrons for making this and so much more possible for me. We're in it now, my friends. We are in the thick of it. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for standing up with me. This could not exist without you. If this was useful to you, the biggest compliments you could pay me would be to literally pay me on Patreon if you can. And if not, then just share it with someone that you think oh, maybe this could be useful for them. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go edit this back and then put a bunch of links in the show notes. Always love hearing from you all, so thank you. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Habeas corpus, bitches. Don't go back to sleep.